Coming up on the Northwestern News Report's Chicago show.
Tell me what you need, what you really need.
Southside residents continue to fight for a trauma center in the area.
A new technology is making the Chicago River safer for locals and wildlife.
And a rally tries to bridge the gap between Southside residents and the police.
All those stories and more up next on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your Chicago news right now. Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Northwestern News Report. I'm Tal Axelrod.
And I'm Isa Gutierrez. Thanks for joining us.
We've previously reported on residents of Chicago's South Side who are fighting to open an adult trauma center at the University of Chicago. Now, after an announcement by the university in December, the Trauma Center campaign is one step closer to becoming a reality. NNN's Jordan Tilley followed up on this story to find out what progress has been made. Jordan?
Thanks, Tal. In the 1980s, the University of Chicago closed its adult trauma center due to cost, space, and staff restrictions. Then, 6 years ago, Southside residents formed a coalition dedicated to opening a new trauma center. Now, the University of Chicago has announced a plan to open one by 2018. Southside resident and activist Damian Turner was shot and killed just blocks from UChicago's medical campus in 2010. But because the nearest Level 1 trauma center was 9 miles away, he died before he got there.
Damian Turner was shot and killed on 62nd and Midway Cottage, so 2 blocks from the U of C hospital.
Level 1 trauma includes serious injuries such as gunshot wounds. The Trauma Center Coalition says most of the people who need Level 1 trauma care in Chicago are Black youth on the South Side between the ages of 16 and 25. In addition, research coming from Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine shows if someone is shot more than 5 miles from the nearest trauma center, they are 23% more likely to die. Turner's death combined with this research sparked the movement in 2010 to create a Level 1 trauma center on UChicago's campus.
Tell me what you need, what you really need.
Then in early December of last year, UChicago Medicine announced its Get Care plan. The plan includes expanding emergency services and recruiting staff from around the country to qualify UChicago Medicine for Level 1 trauma care status.
The university has finally opened its ears and listened to what this community needs, and what that is a life-saving trauma center.
The university now plans to put the trauma center here at its Hyde Park Medical Campus, which is where activists say the community needs it most.
UChicago is really the only hospital on the South Side that has the resources to build and operate this trauma center.
But even with the university's new plan, some members of the Trauma Center Coalition say they don't believe that UChicago will follow through on what it says is its commitment to the community.
Not only in saying we need a trauma center, but in saying what that trauma center should look like.
And beyond those concerns, the plan is not expected to be completed until 2018, which means Southside residents will still have to travel at least 9 miles in order to get trauma care.
You're going to have to be brought 10 miles to Northwestern or out to the south suburbs or the western suburbs in order to be treated.
David says it is important that the university remain focused on the Southside community as this process continues.
I get to make a choice to stand here today. The Black folks and the other folks that live in the community on the South Side don't get to make that choice every day.
The university is still in early stages of approval for its plan. Southside residents say they will be there every step of the way to hold UChicago Medicine accountable. Back to you, Tal.
Thanks for the update, Jordan.
It's been a little over a month since Mayor Rahm Emanuel's Police Accountability Task Force released its report on what it called systematic racism and corruption in the Chicago Police Department. NNN's Eric Miller joins us with updates. Eric?
That's right, guys. Behind me is the Starbucks at the corner of South State and East 35th Street, where on Friday, 49-year-old Yvonne Nelson was shot and killed. One of more than 20 people shot in Chicago in the past week. Now, this spike in violence is one of many challenges currently facing the Chicago Police Department, which is still reeling from last month's blistering Police Accountability Task Force report.
The police are racist, have no regard for the sanctity of life when it comes to people of color, and some residents do not feel safe in any encounter with the Chicago Police Department. These are just a few of the ways the Police Accountability Task Force described the CPD when it published its comprehensive report last month. Since then, Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the City Council have only acted on about a third of the task force's recommendations. All this has taken place against the backdrop of a 44% increase in shootings over this time last year and a 55% increase in murders over the same period. Yesterday, these problems and limited progress were on full display. The Bronzeville community and the CPD came together for a rally and police roll call in response to the murder of Yvonne Nelson, who was shot 4 days before, less than a block from CPD headquarters. For Alderman Pat Dowell of the 3rd Ward, events like this help heal the divide between the police and the community.
And I think at events like this, although they're sad because someone lost their life, it does provide an opportunity for the police and the community to talk to each other.
CPD Lieutenant Victor Green agrees, noting how the CPD has worked to rebuild community relations in the wake of the report.
I've done a lot of training with our officers on crisis intervention, how to act professionally, how to communicate.
But Lieutenant Green also acknowledged the CPD's reluctance to use force since the task force report came out. Mayor Emanuel has called this response going, quote, fetal, and has blamed it for the spike in crime. On the other hand, Black Lives Matter activist Kofi Zola has seen little change in the CPD in the last month.
No. I don't have anything. I haven't seen anything positive. The agenda of the police is still to criminalize people, find them guilty of something, and potentially incarcerate them.
According to Zola, real change will take more resources, a trauma center, and greater youth engagement for the community. Most importantly, Zola says there needs to be a civilian oversight agency for the police, a task force recommendation Mayor Emanuel said last week he'd put into action in the near future.
Well, the police need to give up control to the community. So once the police are fully accountable and the community can decide how the police should engage in the community, that changes the dynamic.
Now, Mayor Emanuel has left the door open for more possible reforms. We'll keep you updated as those changes progress. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Eric.
Roughly 1 in 10 Chicagoans lacks access to fresh produce, and while steps are being taken to help get healthy options in the hands of residents, community activists say there's still a long way to go. We asked NNN's Isabella Zhao to find out more about this problem.
Fruits and vegetables are not common foods on the dinner table in Chicago food deserts. Food deserts are regions with limited access to affordable and nutritious food. An area that only has one supermarket in a square mile is considered a food desert. Under those guidelines, Chicago neighborhood North Lawndale is a food desert. James Brooks, a senior pastor at the Harmony Community Church at North Lawndale, said even if big chain supermarkets enter the neighborhood, people will not be able to afford the prices.
The local stores that we have around here, the reason they're so attractive is because they're cheap. You can grab a bag of Flamin' Hots, which our children eat daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they only cost 25 or 50 cents.
Dr. Wayne Detmer of the Lawndale Christian Health Center said the center is working on developing a new urban farm called Farm on Ogden. The farm is expected to supply enough fresh produce for the whole neighborhood in a few years' time.
We're creating an urban agriculture facility that will produce something like 50,000 pounds of organic vegetables a year.
While Farm on Ogden is still in development, the Windy City Harvest Program has been running for 13 years. The program provides low-income families with low-cost produce and jobs. Dentrell DeHart, an apprentice with the program, said the job has changed his life in many ways.
It kept me out of trouble. Like right now, I'm eating healthy. It's changed my family's lives as well. They eat healthy. They give us opportunity to take produce home whenever we need it and when it's available.
Musa Salameh, the manager of the only neighborhood supermarket in North Lawndale, Save-A-Lot, said the residents' eating habits pose a bigger problem than the accessibility to food.
I don't see this neighborhood as fruits and vegetable eaters a lot. Here you see most of the customers, they buy 1 or 2 tomatoes.
Do you think that's because it's too expensive or
No, it's not. They like meat.
However, Detmer said in a neighborhood like North Lawndale, maintaining a healthy lifestyle is not always easy.
In this neighborhood, violence is a reality. And so for me to say to a diabetic patient, you should exercise 4 times a week for 30 minutes a day is a nice thing to say, but if you're afraid to leave your house, then it's just not going to happen.
Isabella Zhao, Northwestern News Report.
Beyond North Lawndale, there are still at least 8 major food deserts throughout Chicago, mostly located on the west and south sides.
The Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, known as the MWRD, is using new technology to reduce bacteria in the Chicago River. NNN's Nikki Kaplan has more on this developing story.
According to the MWRD, ultraviolet radiation now disinfects water to reduce disease-causing bacteria left over from semi-treated sewage wastes. The treatment began in March. Before the ultraviolet light treatment, bacteria levels were at over 10,000 disease-causing germs per 100 milliliters of water. After the treatment, bacteria levels should reduce to an average of 200 disease-causing germs in the same amount of water.
With this new equipment, the Chicago River will be flowing toward a brighter future. Cleaner and safer water means the river will now be used in more ways than ever before.
According to Margaret Frisbee, Executive Director at Friends of the Chicago River, a cleaner river would affect the city in a variety of ways, including boosting the economy.
The people really benefit because river edge businesses who, depend on people to want to be near the river. So you've got restaurants, you've got people doing residential developments. All of that, a cleaner river makes the river more valuable to them because people want to be there.
The cleaner river will also affect people who use the water every day. Jen Gibbons, founder and coach of Recovery on Water, a Chicago rowing team for patients and survivors of breast cancer, says a safer river is important for her team's well-being.
If they are either currently in treatment or just out of treatment, sometimes they have compromised immune systems. So having clean water is really important to our organization.
Forrest Cortez, Community Stewardship Program Manager for the Chicago Park District, says this new technology will benefit wildlife in addition to Chicago residents.
Our natural areas host along the Chicago River over 61 species of migratory birds that are protected, of conservation concern, or are in need of stewardship. So cleaning up the river will benefit those species because it benefits the aquatic life that they rely on.
Frisbee says that being a part of this initiative is not just about new technology, but also honoring a historical fight.
Just to stand there and think about even the volunteers that started 37 years ago saying we want this river to belong to everyone. It's really cool to be standing in their shadow and helping push this along.
Nikki Kaplan, Northwestern News Report.
While residents can't swim in the river right now, activists are hopeful should they want to in the future, they'll be able to.
Coming up, this isn't your typical tour of Chicago. Find out how one journalist is letting tourists in on the city's secrets. According to the Chicago Tribune, Houston is expected to surpass Chicago as the nation's third largest city. According to U.S. Census data, in 2015, Chicago had the greatest decline in population of any U.S. city, losing close to 3,000 residents. Chicago realtor Scott Curcio said job creation may be the driving force behind migration trends in the U.S. According to the Pew Research Center, North Dakota, Texas, and Utah have experienced more than 15% employment growth since 2009. In comparison, Illinois had just under 6% employment growth in the same period. Those 3 states also had positive population growth rates, while Illinois had a negative one. Houston may soon outpopulate Chicago, but some Chicagoans, such as resident David McCallie, say they are happy to call the city home.
I worry about taxes, I worry about the crime situation, obviously, but there's, even as those things seem to be escalating, the opportunities and the wonderful things about the city seem to be at least keeping pace or growing.
For now, Chicago remains the nation's third largest city with a population of 2.7 million.
Residents of Pilsen are working to preserve their culture as the neighborhood experiences changes linked to gentrification. NNN's Maddie Coe spoke to community members about their hopes for the future.
Located on the southwest side of Chicago, the Pilsen community is known for its large Hispanic population and strong cultural roots. At St. Procopius Church, religious community group Sociedad Guadalupana fundraises for church funds with Mexican food sales that strive to keep their heritage alive. Secretary of Sociedad Guadalupana Rosemary Vargas explains why she continues to volunteer in Pilsen even after moving out of the neighborhood.
Personally, I went to grammar school here, I went to high school here, so although I do no longer live in this community, I feel that it is important for me to give back to the community that gave so much to my family.
While the group hopes to sustain the neighborhood's culture through fundraising, Vargas said that members are aware that these efforts may not be enough to stop gentrification. Maria Ramirez, the group's president, said she sees both the pros and cons of the gentrification.
I think it's bad for the community. I think it's bad for the people that have lived here for a long time. But I'm sure they've seen their taxes go up. So it's kind of hard on them. But it's good for the area.
Despite the group's mixed feelings, Ramirez is hopeful any future changes to the neighborhood are for the better.
Hoping that with the gentrification, we bring back some more energy, enthusiasm to give to this community.
Maddie Coe, Northwestern News Report.
Sociedad Guadalupana fundraises once a month from May through October.
Tourists may know Chicago for architecture tours, but now a new tour is gaining popularity for looking at another famous part of the city's history. NNN's Ben Trachtenberg has more.
Local journalist Paul Dailing guides participants through the history of Chicago corruption, ranging from Federal Center Plaza to the Chicago River.
I started doing all this research for the tours, and I started looking into these issues, walking the route, doing everything it takes to plan a walking tour. And while I'm doing these stories, while I'm learning about this stuff, I start to feel pretty guilty. I don't want to become another guy just profiting off of this culture of corruption.
And people, both locals and tourists, have been flocking to learn more. The tour has become so popular that it's sold out through the summer.
You know, you think of corruption in Chicago as almost as a punchline. Oh, Chicago is corrupt. Oh, a city that works. Haha. You know, like you don't have to explain it any more than that. But this really gives you an idea of the detail around it. You know, just how deep it really is.
And that's what Dailing wants his tourists to learn, that corruption is a real issue.
People start coming in, oh, Chicago corruption, cute and folksy, and then you realize you're telling stories of murders, deaths. It's not so cute anymore.
While the tour focuses on Chicago's past, Dailing said he designed the tour to also look towards the future, touching upon issues that have plagued Chicago in the past, such as racketeering, bribery, racism, and especially gerrymandering. Gerrymandering continues to be an issue to this day, and corruption still haunts the city of Chicago.
Saying, hey, if you take this tour, you will learn how gerrymandering is disenfranchising minority communities. And I'm not saying the other stuff isn't cool, but my favorite stuff is the medicine I sneak in with a spoonful of sugar.
Gerrymandering, the manipulation of electoral boundaries to swing elections, is an ongoing problem in Chicago politics. For example, Dailing says in the 2012 aldermanic race, after redistricting, some candidates no longer lived in the ward they represented. While Dailing thinks this may not be the most glamorous part of the tour, it's a very real issue that affects many Chicagoans. Ben Trachtenberg, Northwestern News Report.
Dailing's tour has been so successful that the additional dates he added for the summer have all sold out.
Coming up, we'll take a look at how construction on the L is both helping and hurting local businesses. Chicago's uptown neighborhood is home to many small businesses. However, some of the stores are fighting to stay open due to construction on the L. NNN's Bria Kalpin talked with business owners to learn more.
As a part of the Chicago Transit Authority's reconstruction project, Red Ahead, the Wilson L stop is being renovated. The new station will not only enhance the neighborhood's appearance, but also make the station compliant with the American Disabilities Act. Construction first began in late 2014 and aimed to replace the deteriorated station that was built in 1923.
Though many of the businesses surrounding the Wilson L stop have been affected by construction, many of the shop owners, such as those of the businesses around the corner of Leland and Broadway, are saying that their businesses are suffering the most due to obstructions such as road work and a big green fence blocking the view of their businesses from the street. The Dahlia Food Market's owner, Mohammed Alamawi, says his shop has lost sales because of the obstructions.
The project affected our business a lot. Our sales went down by 50% probably from the closure of Leland, which is blocking, foot traffic and regular car traffic for our customers.
In addition to the declining revenue, Alamawi says that he sees the renovations as doing more harm than good.
I don't think it's going to make a big difference. It's going to only raise the prices, the taxes.
In order to aid the businesses in maintaining their clientele, signs have been posted around the uptown area to inform residents that the obstructed shops are still open during the renovation process. Despite the inconvenience, some owners like Adele Shaw of Spoil Me Hair Salon and Spa are hopeful that when the project is complete, the renovations will bring more business to the neighborhood.
It's going to be really beneficial to me because I know I have heard clients complain not wanting to come to the Wilson station.
This project, one of the largest in CTA history, will cost $203 million and could possibly persuade Shaw's customers and other consumers to visit the uptown area more often. Bria Calpin, Northwestern News Report.
The Wilson Station construction project is slated for completion in fall of 2017.
Street performers can be found all throughout Chicago, even in underground train stations. NNN's Michelle Beck joins us from the State and Lake L station to explore the lives of these performers. Michelle?
Thanks, Tall. Over the week, I met with some of the people who bring live music to the streets. After getting a taste of their unique musical flavors, I talked to them about the influence of perception from both authorities and the public.
Waiting for the train is not so much a bore in Chicago. The Chicago Transit Authority, also known as the CTA, provides zones for street musicians to entertain people on the go. Kimberly Trice is one of those passerbys who waits for the train next to performing musicians.
Gets you inspired to just leave all the cares behind and just listen to the music. It's refreshing.
The Red Line Lounge Band has made this station its home stage. Bass player Gerald Shelton says the band members have built rapport with the community after playing in the same spot for 5 years.
How you doing, sir? Sorry, I know everybody, so.
But not everybody welcomes these musicians.
They call us drug addicts, they call us homeless, they call us satanic worshipers. They even called us a gang at one time, the Red Line Lounge Gang. I never heard nobody before in my life. So you get a lot of stigma, yeah, you get a lot of that, but if you come down here and join us and have fun, you see with none of that.
Organizations such as Chicago Street Musicians exist to combat these misconceptions. The Associate Director, George Banks, has been performing on the streets close to 30 years. Despite recent efforts to bridge relations between the public and performers, Banks believes authorities like the CTA still view street performers negatively.
When they do any kind of remodeling or anything, it's like, it's like they put things right in front of us where we're supposed to be playing at.
Although obtaining a license to perform is fairly easy, it can always be revoked and has many restrictions. There are noise level limits, designated times for playing, and specified performance areas.
How many musicians are down there? There's quite a few, so we have to work out what little bit there. Now there's only 3 designated areas.
Despite the difficulties street performers face, passengers and their dance moves are encouraging them to keep playing.
The Red Line Lounge Band mentioned earlier in the story can be found at the Jackson stop on the Red Line. One of the members revealed to me that the band will be recording an album in the near future. Back to you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Integrating into life in America isn't always easy for refugees, particularly children. One woman is using an art form to make that transition a bit easier. NNN's Alex Letterman has more.
Are you ready for Hokey Pokey? Yeah. Your first Hokey Pokey in your life.
Yeah.
Syrian refugee children on the north side of Chicago are taking dance classes at Performing Arts Limited in West Rogers Park. The class combines English lessons with dance moves and will culminate in performances at the Syrian Community Network Picnic on Memorial Day and a community festival in June.
We can show the people how we dance and how we know English so fast.
Stretch, switch, reach.
The classes taught by social practice dance artist Sean Lent aim to integrate the newly arrived insular population within the diverse community around Devon Avenue.
Right here on this corner, it's so many communities just, across the street from each other, but never having an experience to come together. And an artistic medium such as dance starts to break down those barriers.
To help teach English, Lent associates a vocabulary word with each of the 15 dance moves. These include fold, dart, zip, and float. But that doesn't stop the most human of impulses from kicking in before the performance.
I think I will be shy to perform it.
Well, maybe not for everyone.
Superman, not scared.
But beyond just the performance, Lent thinks her work can play a larger role in community integration.
I hope that for the children participating in a new country, a new environment, the sense that I can achieve something, that we're together. Even just the passing of hello on the sidewalk. Little moments where you know, like, this is good work.
Alex Letterman, Northwestern News Report.
The Syrian Community Network picnic will be on May 30th at Catherine Ledge Memorial Lodge.
Coming up, a classic Chicago movie celebrates its 30th anniversary on the city's streets.
30 years ago, Ferris Bueller took over Chicago in the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, fans are celebrating the classic movie in new ways. NNN's Ariel Schwartz has more.
Did someone say Bueller? Last weekend, Ferris Fest was held in Chicago to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The event drew 250 people to the city and featured an 80s-esque prom, tours of Chicago, a movie screening, and a parade. The parade, which replicated the movie version, drew many superfans wanting to reminisce about the movie, including Scott Anderson.
I had to have been like 8 years old. My dad, he would always record movies on TV for us to watch as kids, and I watched that cassette tape probably 80 times as a kid.
The parade, which took place at Daly Plaza, featured performances from a dance troupe and King High School marching band. Mary Catanzaro, another New York resident, said she was beyond excited about the event.
Just being here, and I got a great photo of myself with the whole cast, so that was great, and I just want to dance and sing and, you know, twist and shout.
In addition to performances, several cast members from the original movie attended the event. Leanne Marie Debut was an original dancer in the movie and helped choreograph the parade.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls who came out to audition for the part. And as soon as I heard that John Hughes was producing a new movie and he was looking for dancers, I knew I wanted to be in that movie. So I thought I was going to dance my little tail off all day if, you know, I want to be the last one standing with the other 5 girls.
Debut said the event was worth the preparation it took to replicate the moves of the film's choreographer, Kenny Ortega.
I never stopped working. You know, there was a lot to do because I had a very short time to review the movie, so I wanted to get it as exact as possible so Kenny Ortega would be proud.
Ariel Schwartz, Northwestern News Report.
In a famous line from the film, Ferris says, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around for a while, you could miss it." Well, Tal, it looks like this show has gone pretty fast, and we're out of time.
Yes, and we're glad you didn't miss this special edition of the Northwestern News Report. I'm Tal Axelrod.
And I'm Isa Gutierrez. Thanks for joining us, and good night.